Hello, everyone. My name is Fabian Zimmer. I'm the Group Product Manager for Enablement, and I am going to give you an outlook of Geo's plans for GitLab 14.8, our next release. I'm covering for Nick, who is taking a well-deserved vacation. I'm hoping that you have a great time. So let's get started. There are some really exciting features and improvements coming up for the next release, and I'll walk you through that. You can always look at the planning issue as well for more details. So the first thing is we are working on general availability of Geo's built-in object storage replication framework. As a quick reminder, Geo is GitLab's solution for distributed teams and disaster recovery. And one of the core and important features of Geo is to replicate data from one location to another. Many of our customers by now use object storage. So for example, Amazon backed or backed by Google, like GCP or S3. They store data in object storage. GitLab has a number of data types that you can store there, and it's cost efficient and fast. So cloud providers like Amazon actually provide mechanisms to replicate data natively between buckets located in different locations. So let's say the US East Coast and the US West Coast. However, there are a couple of limitations with this. First, you need to actually use such a cloud provider to benefit from this. So if you're self-managed and you use object storage, that may not be available to you. And also, you can't do this across different providers. So if you use Amazon, you can only replicate to another Amazon-based object storage solution. So Geo also provides native replication, where Geo manages the replication between two object storage buckets. We do this already, but there are a number of improvements that we want to make before actually moving this from beta to general availability. So the first thing that we're working on right now is validating some specific cloud providers like Azure. In 14.8, we also want to replicate the deletion of remotely stored files. We don't do this at the moment. So if your source bucket deletes data, it doesn't actually get deleted on the other end. We also want to start working on verifying files in object storage to ensure that everything made it across in one piece. And you can check out the epic to understand the specifics about what we believe is still required for object storage replication. The feature is very stable already, but we want to challenge ourselves and do a bit more. The next piece of work here is a little bit more backend focused to do with Rails 6, which we use to actually develop GitLab. So Geo already has to manage more than one database. For example, the tracking database to keep state. And right now, Geo does a lot of work to manage connections to different databases. And with Rails 6, all of this is a lot simpler. So we are migrating to the new and easier world of managing multiple databases, which reduces the overall technical debt and makes Geo also significantly easier to configure. This is also related to another effort to do with scalability. And Douglas, one of our engineers, is working on this. And hopefully this will result in significantly simpler configuration of Geo in the future. Then we're also continuing to move existing data types to our self-service framework, which makes it incredibly easy to replicate and verify data. And we're currently working on making job artifact replication available in the self-service framework, which also adds verification and overall makes Geo replication simpler and more robust. So that should wrap up in 14.8 as well. The next item is actually quite exciting to me and to many team members. GitLab uses a tool called Get internally to automate the deployment of GitLab instances in various configurations. And it is by now possible to actually use Get to create environments that contain Geo configured and do this while running this in CI. this is really important for Geo, because Geo is such a critical component to many of our customers. So we want to be in a position where we can spin up Geo automatically in various configurations and test all of our changes in a sort of real environment, running our QA test suite automatically. There's still a few issues to iron out, but it's looking pretty good, and we hope to have this fully enabled in 14.8. This should result in fewer bugs that make it through our release cycle and catching issues earlier. So we're quite excited about that. Then a follow-up to the proxying feature that we released in 14.6. So there are a few small things that we still want to improve. For example, systems administrators, when they have to administer secondary specific tasks, need to use the IP address of the secondary rather than the name, because we don't make it easy for systems administrators to access the secondary web interface when proxying is enabled. So we're fixing this, which should make it a little bit simpler for systems administrators to manage and maintain GitLab instances that utilize our proxying feature, which is quite exciting. And then lastly, and these are two related items, Geo is very relevant to meet business continuity targets for many of our customers. And so we are rethinking a little bit how we surface information to systems administrators and also potentially auditors to make it easier to say that, yes, the replication is within the, for example, the recovery point objectives for your business. And that means we have to make it simpler for systems administrators to tell Geo, hey, I'm willing to accept data loss for 5 minutes. And knowing this, we can do a better job at surfacing if we're falling behind or not. So we're doing some research in actually improving the synchronization status and highlighting if you are within the business targets that you set, which also requires, and this brings me to the second point, actually measuring the time it takes specifically to replicate certain data types. We want to do this for every single data type and surface that in a metrics dashboard, but we'll start likely with a small POC, a proof of concept, focusing on a single data type to see how we can efficiently and correctly measure the time it takes, for example, for a commit to be mirrored from primary to a secondary, which is quite interesting. So this is the starting of likely a larger change on our user interface for systems administrators, and I'm quite excited about that. And then lastly, I wanted to point out a smaller issue that I think is going to be quite impactful for some of our customers. The way Git works is slightly different depending on the commands that you use. And so right now, Geo fetches data with git fetch on the first time it clones. And you can already see this is the difficulty. So you can git fetch and you can git clone. They do slightly different things and they exhibit slightly different behaviors. And so one of our engineers, Gabriel, is exploring if using git clone to retrieve data is significantly faster for the first time when we actually replicate Git data to a secondary. This is quite relevant when we backfill a new secondary, and we have to do this swiftly and efficiently. So when a customer, for example, has thousands of repositories, we want to actually backfill our secondary as fast as we can. And using git clone may actually be significantly faster than git fetch. So we're exploring that, and hopefully this will result in quite a few performance improvements. So stay tuned. So as you can see, there's a lot going on in Geo. We are very excited about moving forward on some of these items, and we'll see what 14.9 brings. I'll talk to you in a month. Thank you so much, and have a great day.